When my dad passed away, we were so broke, all I inherited were good examples. I heard you have an estate. Do something smart with it. Be able to your old man.
After Tariq was arrested in Season 2, we saw a chess move from Ghost, the letter that was waiting for Tariq in case he was ever arrested for a double homicide. But that wasn't the only play we saw from Ghost. He made sure Yasmin would be adopted in case anybody wiped out the family with the last name changed and the record sealed. This was to protect Yasmin and make sure the St. Patrick name doesn't follow her and tarnish her reputation or future. So speaking of the St. Patrick name, when Tariq mentioned that his name was Tariq St. Patrick, I think this was the moment RSJ realized he knows his father or went back and did his research on the St. Patricks.
What's your name?
I'm Tariq St. Patrick.
To meet you, Tariq.
Likewise.
So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down two perspectives. Did RSJ know James St. Patrick? But if not, how could Tariq learn more about Ghost by working under someone like RSJ? Because Tariq is definitely somewhat still in denial that he is very similar to his father. But the more he learns under RSJ, I think he's going to start to realize who James St. Patrick was and how he wasn't just a drug dealing murderer, but also an astute businessman who came from the streets and made his dream a reality. Now, this is the character description that we were given for Ron Samuel Jenkins, or also known as RSJ, a Howard University and Harvard Business School alum who grew up working class. He built his own legitimate empire that has firmly entrenched him among the business elite. Now, RSJ is a character who we were introduced to in episode 3, and they say never judge a book by its cover, and the same goes for characters on Power Book 2 Ghost. On the surface, nobody is who they seem. For example, many believe Salim could be undercover, but RSJ was introduced giving a speech about power to the people, which is actually a song from John Lennon. It's a powerful song that encouraged those who listen to take control over their lives, work together and make a positive change to the world. And just like RSJ spoke of, the message is just as relevant as it is today as it was 50 years ago, but he added his own spin.
Commerce is in a state of revolution, and I like to think of it as power of the people.
Now, what RSJ was referring to was the idea that commerce or buying and selling is forever changing compared to the traditional means. For example, have a look at around us now. We live in a world where technology is booming. The internet is the way forward with Instagram, Facebook, and endless of opportunities, whereas in the past, commerce could only be conducted on the high street, where you could physically go into a store and buy whatever you wanted to buy. But with social media and apps, for example, Course Correct, Course Perfect, and No Cap All Frap, everything can be done on the go. But that's not all. Blockchains and crypto is also changing the game. And that's also another investment Western holdings have their foot in. So just keep RSJ's speech in the back of your minds, because breaking down his speech, I think you guys will already have an idea of how and why it relates to Tariq St. Patrick. So I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Now, after RSJ's exchange with Lucas Weston, Brayden, and Tariq was intrigued and he wanted to know more about his speech, and particularly put the part about economy of scale. And RSJ gave him an idea of how he could scale his operation in Wall Street in the simplest of ways. If a company is big enough to sacrifice some profit and provide more of an affordable product, they can undercut the market. 1,000 cheap customers would bring in way more scale profit than 100 high-end customers. But that's not all. RSJ definitely liked Tariq's straightforward approach, and when he asked him what his name was, he gave him a little nod. Now, if RSJ didn't know who the St. Patricks were at this moment in time, he's definitely someone who would have done his research. Rashad Tate said to Tariq St. Patrick, if RSJ gave him the time of day, then it's because he has something he's interested in. So I'm going to come back to Rashad Tate and Tariq's conversation later on as well. But in terms of RSJ's speech around commerce being in a state of revolution and economy of scale, this is what we saw Tariq put into practice with No Cap, All Frap, undercutting the market, and now business is booming. He's also someone who is already aware apps and technology was the way forward with what he put into practice at Stansfield in seasons 1 and 2 with Course Correct, but now he's learning how to scale thanks to RSJ. Now, RSJ came back to New York with his meeting for Lucas Weston a week later, and this is where Lucas Weston didn't exactly do his research on RSJ. He likened him to Elon Musk.
But that's what makes your success so much greater. You're an example of just how much people like you can achieve on their own.
Interesting.
And RSJ definitely didn't appreciate how Lucas likened him to Elon Musk, because he was a working class man who came from nothing. And this is where we take it back to the great classroom scene, which gave us a lesson of how some people get a head start in life and certain advantages the others don't. If RSJ was in this classroom at the same age as Tariq St. Patrick, he wouldn't be anywhere near the front. He'd be more towards Effie's side, which is also why he asked Tariq St. Patrick about the late great James St. Patrick. Ghost was someone who pulled himself out of the streets and made his dream a reality, similar to how RSJ grew up broke. Now, when Lucas mentioned that they have their eyes on an Italian tech firm that was about to blow up, he said that now's not the right time to invest and he was focused more on his real estate portfolio. But while telling them he was focusing on his real estate portfolio, he looked directly at Tariq St. Patrick, and that's because he knew Tariq had something he wanted, the QCP building. RSJ seems like he knows how much of a great man James St. Patrick was, at least from a business perspective, and we don't know whether they had a past, whether they came across each other or even knew each other, but he definitely let Tariq know that he'd better do something smart with his estate, and he owes it to his old man. So when Tariq's internship was on the line, he needed to land RSJ as a client for Western Holdings, which is where we bring it back to Rashad Tate.
The fact that he's actually giving you the time of day means that he wants something from you. Yeah, but what the fuck could I offer to a billionaire? Figure that shit out.
Tariq approached Tate about whether he has any debt on RSJ, but he said his record is squeaky clean. But the fact that RSJ was giving him the time of day means that he wanted something from Tariq, and the game is to be sold, not told. So what could Tariq offer a billionaire? The QCP building.
Nah, I have a proposition for you.
I'm listening.
So just like how I think RSJ did his research on Tariq St. Patrick and his estate, Tariq definitely did his own research on RSJ. And this line was actually an Easter egg to the wire, Proposition Joe. But Tariq told RSJ that he wanted to start construction for a new shopping mall in Queens. But there's a building block in that project, the QCP building, that Ghost left to Tariq in his trust. But with the building lacking in structural integrity, he could sell that building at a higher price, which would also mean there's a higher pot of money waiting for him once he graduates. And this was a certainly smart and shrewd business move by Tariq St. Patrick. Whether the building was actually lacking a structural integrity, who knows, but I'm not sure either of them care. RSJ gets what he wants, Tariq gets a bigger pot of money when he graduates, and Lucas Weston signs RSJ. Everybody was a winner sitting around this table. Now I'm the firm believer of not every character has to be connected, and I don't necessarily believe RSJ and Ghost even know of each other. As I mentioned throughout this video, it does seem like RSJ is someone who did his research on Tariq St. Patrick. So on the flip side, if RSJ didn't know who James St. Patrick was, him being a mentor to Tariq would allow Tariq to appreciate what Ghost did for him, what he built, and how good he was when it came to business. Because at this moment in time, he is definitely still very much in denial that he is very similar to Ghost. Because whoever tells him that he's similar to Ghost, he flips a switch, just like Bash. But I really do wonder how he'd take it from someone like RSJ if he said he's smart just like his father. Would he then accept it coming from someone like RSJ, someone who he aspires to the wealth and power of? So I really do wonder how Tariq would react if RSJ told him he was just like James St. Patrick. Now the final point on RSJ and Tariq is the Italian investment opportunity, especially because Tariq takes a trip to Italy in episode 5, and he's also someone who can speak Italian. So I do think RSJ will find more value in Tariq besides the QCP building, so that's just something else to bear in mind. But with that being said, that's a breakdown of who RSJ is, a breakdown of his speech, and how it's relevant in terms of to the world we live in at this moment in time, but also how Tariq and RSJ's relationship is far from over, even after their QCP deal. Ghost lessons and moves doesn't come just from in the form of another letter, it could also come in the form of him learning under the wing of RSJ. So could Tariq learn more about James St. Patrick the more he continues to learn under RSJ? Drop all your thoughts and perspectives down below on RSJ and his future relationship with Tariq St. Patrick. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.